Everybody, today we have with us Megan Gersch, who is a web designer and brand expert for creatives, and she's going to talk about sharing your weird. And so I'm really excited to talk about this. So, Megan, hi, how are you? Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be here.
And so I'm really excited as well. So before we get into your story, let's talk about embracing your weird. So I'm just going to hand this over to you and go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that I always recommend to clients, and it's one of the things that my clients have found the most success with. And it's something that I think a lot of people are really uncomfortable with at the beginning. But what we found is like the more that you lean into your unique quirks and your personality and who you truly are and like a core values level, that's when your like dreamiest clients start flocking to you. That's when you start having like a really really aligned audience that loves to watch your content, that loves to consume everything that you're putting out, because you're showing yourself as like a real human being, and you're showing like, your unique weirdness and your true personality, and that's how people are going to connect with you.
Okay, so what would you say to somebody who is like, well, I'm just normal. Like there's nothing weird or unique about me.
I mean, here's the thing, like everybody has a unique story. Like you have a story, your experiences, your background, your education, like all of that can feed into this. I feel like we hear the term storytelling a lot in the entrepreneur space, and I feel like that's kind of a buzzword at this point. But it really is true. Like everybody has like a unique story. Like no one else can tell your story. Only you can do
Yeah.
that. And the more that you lean into that, and it doesn't have to be the most groundbreaking thing that you've ever put together every time you go out to tell a story, right? Like it could be something where you went to the store and maybe you noticed a certain brand at the store and that sparked an idea for you. Share that. Like, again, nobody else can tell that story of that specific experience except for you.
And can you give some examples? I'm really curious about this weird thing with your clients. Like like their weird was that they highlighted.
I mean, when I think about my clients in this regard, like it's really like their unique personalities, like
Yeah.
as well as their niches. A lot of the folks that are drawn to my content are doing things like I've just never seen before. Like I have worked with an etch a sketch artist. Like that's like
What?
she said there's literally like six competitors in the world. And
That's so
so
cool. And
yeah,
people
it's
say,
her.
I had a client tell me today that she was told by this bro marketer that there's only three ways that you can make money online. And it was like, help people make money, help them with their like relationship, I don't know, and some other thing. And you're like, no, like you can make money as an etch-a-sketch artist. Like I love it.
Yeah. So like things like that. But like even if you are in a niche that is a bit more saturated, like figuring out how you can uniquely position yourself in that market, that's the key.
Hmm. And I think too, a lot of people are afraid to be different or afraid to show who they are because they feel like they need to be quote unquote professional or something like this in order to attract to be seen as a business owner. When what you're saying, and I'm totally on board with this, it's like the opposite is true because the more you are yourself, the more that you're going to attract the people who you actually want to work with and who will get the best results from working with you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like there's an important distinction here as well. Like professional doesn't have to be the same thing as a boring brand. Like when we think of the word professional, we might think of like something more corporate, when that's not really the reality, especially like with the digital space the way that it is now. Like there are like I consider my brand to be very professional, but I show up with purple and green hair every day, and like I make content for my
Yeah.
living room, and like it's
Well,
it's a it's a more relaxed version of
right.
professionalism.
And I want to highlight this. So you're here and like your black, like wide brimmed hat and your one side green, one side purple hair. And can you name off a couple of clients that you've had
Yeah,
to
yeah,
show how
definitely.
professional you are? Some of these big clients that I saw on your website.
Yeah, I've worked with Netflix in the past. I've worked with Live Nation. I've worked with KCRW Radio, who's the NPR radio station here in Los Angeles. I've been the creative director at a few music venues here in Los Angeles. I've worked with like artists and travel folks and like just people that are like really making a really cool impact on the world. I love I feel like I have the best clients in the world, truly.
Yeah, and you get to do that because you show up as you. You got to work with Netflix with your purple and green hair, right? So
Yep.
like, so this is just a testament to the point of you're a professional and you get to be you and not this like stuffy like, oh, I need to wear like, I don't know, a white button-down shirt and show up as like I'm a professional brand and creative expert, you know?
Yeah.
So very cool. So with that, let's backtrack a little bit and get into a bit more about you and your business. So can you describe what you do? So what is it that you do? What does your business look like today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a branding and website designer, and I typically work with out of the box alternative style creatives that are really looking to accelerate their business in the market and really stand out from everybody else.
Amazing. Have you always done this? Has this always been what you do with your life?
Yeah, ever since college, like I have been, yeah, ever before that, honestly, like I've always been interested in both the design and the entertainment world, which is where a lot of my background lies. But most of my career has been built in design. So, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time.
Awesome. And then when you were starting on your entrepreneurial journey, what did that look like for you?
Oh man. So I had been at my current job as the creative director for a few music venues here in Los Angeles for a few years. And it was the kind of thing where I had been freelancing my entire career on the side. And it just got to the point where I was going to my 9 to 5 and then coming home and doing freelance all night until I went to bed. And it just like, the workload was becoming too much. And I was like, maybe like there's an opportunity here where I could really just do this thing on my own. And one day I decided to take the leap, and it'll be 6 years in September. I've just like, it's like the best decision I've ever made.
Amazing. And so I want to talk about maybe, okay, so like you went in, you jumped in, you're doing this thing, you're doing the branding and the websites and all of this like amazing stuff. In your entrepreneurial journey, and like if you're like, okay, I'm trying to grow, do this thing, establish myself, what has been some of the key, if you were to think back, like what were some of the key times in your journey, like, oh, like this is a defining moment, and you know, whether the decision or what happened was good or bad, that, you know, like this really kind of changed or shifted things.
Yeah, I would definitely say really leaning into video marketing and getting really visible and taking my social media seriously. I feel like in the very, very beginning of my business, like I really wanted to lean into referrals and like I had like a good word of mouth kind of thing going on. But the moment that I started like taking social media more seriously as like a way to market my business and really show up on video authentically, like people just started like coming into my business and I was like, oh, like this is actually really like a very viable source of marketing. And it's also like an incredible way to connect with your audience like a lot faster.
Yeah, because they get to see you're weird, right? They get to see you, they get to know you and they
Yeah.
get to see your energy, like feel all of the things, like see what you're about.
Yeah, exactly. And I
Yeah.
can't tell you like how many people too, like since I started video marketing, like they have told me like, oh, I was drawn to your content because I didn't see other purple haired marketers out there. You know, like they were drawn to like me because of those things. So, I mean,
Hmm.
I definitely had a lot of, um, a lot of gratitude towards the medium of video marketing because it's allowed me to put myself out there in that way.
And when you first started doing it, was there so I feel like a lot of people are nervous about really leaning into it because it's a whole different skill set. Two, it's a whole different level of visibility.
Yeah.
And, and it's, yeah, like there's a lot that one has to learn, quote unquote, in order to, oh, there's like things to it. You know what I mean? So if you were going to give your top tips for showing up on video or like what you do, like what your process is, I would love for you to share that with people who are a bit more hesitant to fully step into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the best tip that I can give you is just to get started. And I know that that is like very cliche advice, but like your first 100 or 200 videos are just not going to be good. They're just not going to be good. And so the only way to get better is to put in those reps. It's like going to the gym, right? Like, you know, like you're not going to be lifting 100 pounds the first time you go to the gym, but maybe, you know, the 100th time you go to the gym, maybe you are. And, you know, you can learn from your mistakes. You can study other content. You can, you know, take hints from like what performs well and what didn't. And you know, it's literally about putting in those reps and like showing up. The more that you do it too, like the more comfortable that you get on camera, and the more that you can kind of like settle into that weirdness and that like you know, like just getting comfortable with yourself. Like I can tell you too, like I'm way more confident on camera now. Like even like as a person, I feel like video has allowed me to really settle into like, you know, this is who I am. This is what I look like. This is, you know, how I want to present myself to the world. And it's helped me to get more comfortable with all of those things.
I think that's so important too, because when you're more comfortable with yourself in whatever aspect it is, it carries over across everything. So let's say you're doing, it's almost like you're doing this practice of creating these videos. And then, oh, like now my confidence is increasing. So now when you're showing up and you're talking to clients on discovery calls or whatever, like now you show up more confidently. Now, like, you know what I mean? Like you learn to be more yourself across the board in every capacity and be comfortable with that, be comfortable taking up space, not worry so much like, oh, my makeup isn't done right or my hair is out of, like you still, like, I know that when I first started showing up like in stories or whatever, or creating whatever, you know, content, like I had to look nice. And now I really don't care, which I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm just like, no, I'm going to show up. I have things to say. Like, I think that people like the authenticity and it's like, I'm going to show up and like do my thing. And it's really freeing too, to not put all the pressure on it and to just not care and be like, no, I have like something important to say and I'm going to say it like just as I am right now.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too that like your audience cares way less about that than you think. You know, like
Yes.
people are
Yes.
not caring like, oh, your hair's up or your hair's down or like, you know, like you know, you have makeup on, you don't. It's like, you know, your audience is really there for your message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally, 100%. So I want to get into branding a bit and to kind of talk about this. So first of all, let's go like real basic with it. And like, can you just define branding? Like, what is somebody who does branding? What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I help create the visuals that ultimately create the feeling around brands. So branding is more of an abstract idea, right? Like it's over time, like you'll see companies show up with the same colors, fonts, logo, etc. But ultimately, it's that feeling and that overall vibe that we want to create. So, you know, when we think of like popular brands that we love to consume, like you know, they might make you feel uplifted or empowered. You know, think about those like feeling type words. That's what branding's really all about.
And why is this important? So my audience here is a lot of like soulful service providers. And so if they're like, do I need branding for myself? Like, what would you say to them in their business? And why would it be maybe important for them?
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to talk about like personal branding versus your business branding. And most of the time, you do need both. And, you know, if you're not just like a solopreneur, you know, kind of service provider, you may need both in your business. And that ultimately comes down to like people connect with other people. You'll notice that there are several accounts. I haven't checked it recently, but I think I saw one recently where it was like the CEO of Apple has more followers than Apple itself. So it's like that just goes to show you that people want to hear from other people and not just like the brand itself. And so with a personal brand too, like it gives you a lot more opportunity and leeway to really infuse that personality and tell those opinions and kind of give like an insider kind of look into the business in a way that, you know, you may not want to display on like a company account.
So a lot of, or would you say this is accurate, that a lot of either solopreneurs or like people in the online space are personal brands, like their business kind of
Right.
is their personal brand.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So then if they
exactly.
were Okay, cool. So then if they were developing branding, quote unquote, for them as themselves, how is that different than for a company? Because are you as focused on like the colors and the vibe and this and that? Or is it because what I heard you describing sounded a bit different than when you were describing branding for a company?
Yeah. I think it really comes down to like the size of the company,
Mhm,
honestly. And
mhm,
the more that you grow, the more that you might need that separate account for like the business branding. When you're in the solopreneur kind of phase, or if you have like even like you with like a small team, like I think you can still get away with like, just your account with the branding and like you kind of like being the thought leader, you telling the opinions and kind of giving the news on whatever is happening in your company. But I think as you expand, you really do need to like branch out into that like separate account.
yeah, I think that's perfectly said. And then for people who are listening to this, like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. Like I'm kind of interested in getting into branding or like in offering that. What would you say to them?
Um, do it. I mean, the thing is like, getting a few test projects into your portfolio, like getting really clear on who you want to serve can be helpful. When I first started out, like one of the ways that I got my first gig at Live Nation was filling my portfolio with relevant examples. So it was like I knew in my mind I wanted to be a designer for a music company, and so my portfolio was full of music samples. This made it really really easy for them to be like, "Oh, this is like the right person," because they are clearly in the space. They know how to design for these types of folks, and that's how I got my first gig. So definitely figure out who you want to work with, get some portfolio samples into your website, and that's how really you can get started and wind up getting more projects. Just keep posting your work.
Did you say that Live Nation was one of your first clients, or did I mishear that?
It
Were
was
they
my
earlier
first like
on?
job, like out of college. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
How did you land as like your first job working at Live Nation? That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I totally was like in disbelief when it actually happened. I feel like I was in the right place at the right time. Again, put together my portfolio, has had really strong samples going into that job, and yeah, it was pretty fun.
That's awesome. And I think it's a really good lesson too, in that you don't need to be some, oh, I've been doing this for 20 years and this and that. Like it was literally like your vibe and your talent and they were attracted to you. And I think that's so cool. I think that's such a good story for people, to hear
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, and I think like as a designer too, like it's really important to me as a designer. Like I do branding and website design, so all of my branding and website design needs to look top notch, right? Like that is like a very much a priority for me because like my own brand is an example. Like how I'm putting myself out there is a sample in itself. So not only showcasing clients, but also like my own website, my own socials, etc.
Yeah. So you really are representing yourself as, like you're saying, like as these, like, look, this is how talented I am. You can look like this too. So
Yep,
yeah. So kind of treating yourself as your own client.
exactly.
Very, very neat. So in now you've been doing this for a hot minute. Is it just you? Are you like the solopreneur doing these things, working one on one with clients, like doing their branding, doing their website, etc.? Is this what it looks like in your business?
Right now, yes, I have had several VAs in the past, and I've worked with also several like developers in the past, folks to help support me when the client load has just been a lot. But right now, it's just me. So yeah, it kind of ebbs and flows.
Is it something purposeful that you're doing? So like when you're like, okay, this is my vision for my business. This is how I want to work. This is what I look like. Has there been sort of that thought in this is where I want to go? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like in growing my business, or like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like in a dream world, not too far off in the future, I would love to have like I don't want to call it an agency, but like me with a few other like really like sharp designers that understand kind of the importance of bold branding, bold web design, and like how that can really help to propel you in the market. It just will have to be the right fit people.
Yes, 100% I'm on board with that. Very important. So, so very cool. I wanted to go back to the web design. So you had said that how a bold website, bold branding can propel you in the market. How? Like go into that. So talk about why is this important? Like why should we care about how our website looks?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a really firm believer in matching like the bold aesthetics with strategy. And I also think on top of that, that the entrepreneur space is full of a lot of beige, minimalist kind of folks that's their aesthetic online, which like that's great for them. I love that for them. Those are not my people. I am really, really a firm believer in like in order to stand out in these, you know, increasingly crowded markets, you know, coaching, if you're an agency, if you have any kind of like creative endeavor, like it's so important to stand out. And branding is one of the easiest ways that you can do that and start leveraging that. Just because, like, you know, the world isn't any more the same.
And it's true though. So I will also confess that I am the minimalist person, but this is what I am drawn to, and I'm like with all my spiritual people and whatnot. So like fine. But I will say that yes, when you see somebody who like online or whatnot, and their visuals are super bold, you remember them, right? Because
Yeah.
they don't blend in with everybody else. It's like, oh, there's that girl with all of her hot pink or like whatever, because it's going to stick in your mind. And I think that is 100% true. And so like what would you say though if somebody is like me? So I'm like, you know what, like that's what I like. Like my like house is like, boho aesthetic. So like I'm like basic over here with that, but that's what I'm drawn towards. So there's nothing like per se wrong with that, but I don't know, what would you say to somebody like me? I'm blending
I
in
would
with all the people, so I know.
I mean, here's the thing is like color especially is one of the easiest ways to stand out and become memorable. I mean, like I said before, like with like a lot of video marketing and like I use like I infuse my brand colors into my hair, which is like obviously that's not going to be for everybody, but like, you know, that has been a thing where like people have told me like, "Oh, I literally stop on your videos because I recognize that it's you due to the color." Alone. Like before I even like recognize that it's you, I see the color and I'm like, oh, that's Megan. So color is one of those easy things that you can tweak to integrate. Even if it's just like you know, an accent color here or there, like having like a signature accent color, that can be helpful. But I truly think that like, you know, like and also I would add to this like too, like leaning into what your audience is drawn to. So if
Mhm.
your audience is drawn to that minimalist aesthetic and that's what they love, great. Like it's branding is all about like, you know, talking to your audience authentically. But I would, you know, it's not to say you can't like test things like branding guidelines too are like very much like you know, we get them in place, but then we go to actually put them into practice in our business. And oftentimes, what I find is that the brand kind of shifts and molds over time. So it's not, they're guidelines, right? Like, but they're not set in stone by any means.
Yeah, I love the idea of an accent color as well, or just like a little pop of something. And the fact that you're like, oh, people 100% know that it's you. Like I think that's really cool as well. The other thing that came to my mind was that you are really clear and really firm on these are my people. And that comes across every way, right? Like you cannot mistake that. And I think that that's really powerful in terms of working, obviously, like attracting your dream clients. And that's exactly what you're saying, right? Like embrace your weird, like embrace what's unique to you. And like there is no question, like, oh, this is what I do, this is who I work with, and like it makes total sense. So you being the example of that, I think is really cool. So people need to go and check out your Instagram, like see your visuals and see that because it's a really good example of being so clear and being able to just communicate that through your branding. And I think, like, yeah, I think that's really neat. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Of course.
Are there any other things? So, in somebody who is growing, developing their business, um, what would be maybe like your top, top tips for somebody who is a service provider like yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always start when it comes to branding, I always start with the mission and the core values of the company. You're not going to create effective branding without these things. Like, I, as a designer, cannot even create effective branding for you without getting clarity on those things first. And also, in addition to that, getting really, really clear on your target audience. And I know that that's like, you hear that all the time, but like infusing those kind of two pillars is going to be so key. Like, I'm giving the example here of like, I love to work with folks that are disruptors, that are really creative, that love to kind of push the boundaries when it comes to design. And like, I'm really, really clear on that specific person. And so because of that, I'm able to create, effective branding that helps to draw those people into me.
Yeah, 100%. And what's your mission? So if you're like, oh, somebody needs to be really clear on their mission, like, what's your mission?
My mission is ultimately to help elevate other businesses through design and through, like helping them lean into their most authentic selves and to show up more confidently in their business.
I love that. I wanted to ask that because I feel like sometimes people are caught up in the word mission or like it has to mean something, like they're like, oh, what does that mean? Or it has to be something, I don't know, like crazy and grandiose and something like that. And it's just very much simply, what are you here to do? What ultimately, are you here to make happen in your business? So very clear. And I 100% agree with you. And it helps too when you have your mission, when you have your ideal clients, not only like on a design side, but also on a messaging side. Like all of it comes together so much more seamlessly and really, really attracts the people who you want to attract and repels the people who are not for you. And that's just as important. So these are really important steps that I know you're like, oh, this is basic. Everybody says it, but everybody says it for a reason. And it's really not that basic because people skip over these things, because like they think that they're basic or they think that like, oh, yeah, okay, I kind of know and that's good enough. But when you're so clear on these like basic things, quote unquote, that puts you a step above everybody else. That gets you the clients that you want. So thank you for sharing all of that because I think it was really, really important.
Yeah, and I feel like I've heard a lot from folks about like, there are folks out there that feel like they're on the content creation like hamster wheel, so to speak, and like a lot of that can be avoided and kind of streamlined when you get clarity on that mission core values because it kind of serves as like your guiding light for everything that you're doing in your business.
Yes, I previously in the earlier versions of my business have felt exactly that, like in this hamster wheel, unclear, like I don't know what's happening. And then the minute I have these
Hmm.
things, the minute I know who my ideal client is, the minute I know what my mission is, like what am I doing with them? Like what am I really, like what am I passionate about? What are my values? Like so much easier.
Yeah.
So much easier
Yeah.
and more
Totally.
powerful.
Yeah. That's how you connect with people too. I mean, on
Yeah.
that deeper level.
Yes, and you need to do that. I mean, especially now, there's so much noise out there. So I think too that that's really something that all this branding and all of these like all of these things really play into. Because if you take the time to intentionally do this, because people are so like, go, 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 oh, I need to do this thing, and they get all distracted by all these like squirrel, squirrel, I have to move. But like pause, and like go
Yeah.
back. And when you take the time to put these things in place, everything else falls into place so much easier.
Yeah, totally. I have clients that like we put together their brand guide, and I've had clients that tell me like I literally use this tool every single day. Every day that I sit down to create things for my business, I open my brand guide and I look at what you gave me, and that is what I reference for everything that I make.
Yeah, and it's like, it's very basic, quote unquote. Uh, what's the word? I don't know the word. I live. This is a side story because I live in Spain. So I'm American who lives in Spain, and I feel like when you're learning other languages, you lose all of your first language. And I'm like, what words is that again? Analogy was the word I was looking for. What would be an analogy of this is having the foundation for your house. Like, you need these strong foundations in order to have a house that's not going to fall over. That's not going to be a house of cards that just topples over in the wind. So
Yeah.
don't skip the foundations. Take your time, be intentional because it's going to serve you so much better in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Awesome. Okay, so please let us know. How can we stay in touch with you? Is there anything you want to share? The floor is yours.
Absolutely. So you can find me at megangersch.com. It's megangersch.com. And I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, LinkedIn, and pretty easy to find. It's at Megan Gersch on most platforms. And then TikTok is at megan.gersch.
Awesome. And you guys need to go since we've been talking about this bold look she has. You guys need to go now and check her out and see what it's all about. Thank you so much, Megan, for being here and sharing all of your wisdom with us.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.